The terrifying true story behind Predator. Do you think the 1987 film Predator is just another action movie from the 1980s? A muscle-bound fantasy about commandos fighting an alien hunter in the jungle? Because that's what it looks like on the surface. Loud guns, explosions, one-liners. But what if I told you that Predator wasn't just entertainment? What if it wasn't science fiction at all, but a carefully disguised warning, a way to show us something the government couldn't openly admit was real? Because the story doesn't begin in Hollywood. It begins in 1968, deep in the jungles of Vietnam. During the height of the war, a U.S. Special Forces unit led by Captain Richard Hollister disappeared during what should have been a routine extraction mission. At first, nothing about that seemed unusual. Units went missing all the time in Vietnam. Dense jungle, guerrilla warfare, chaos. But 3 days later, the unit was found, and that's when things stopped making sense. 7 elite soldiers were discovered hanging from trees, completely skinned. Their weapons were still with them, unfired. No signs of a firefight, no evidence of enemy forces anywhere near the area. The official report blamed Viet Cong guerrillas, but the field surgeon's notes classified until 1998 told a very different story. The incisions were too precise, too clean. No human blade could have done this. The cuts suggested mechanical precision. Worse still, every body had been completely drained of blood. There was no pooling, no trail, no explanation of where it had gone. 2 weeks later, a 3-man reconnaissance team was sent to investigate the same location. They never returned. Search parties found only one thing: a single dog tag belonging to Private James Elkins. The metal was partially melted in a strange pattern. Metallurgists at Fort Detrick couldn't match it to any known weapon or explosive. Those incidents were buried, filed away, forgotten, or at least that's what they wanted. In 1972, it happened again, this time in Cambodia. 5 soldiers separated from their unit during a routine jungle patrol. At first, command assumed they'd simply gone off course. Dense foliage, poor radio signal, nothing unusual. But when they were finally found, the recovery team immediately knew this wasn't a normal combat loss. The men were discovered in a jungle clearing, suspended from the trees as if deliberately displayed. Their skin had been removed with terrifying precision. Not torn, not ripped, clean, methodical. Their spinal columns and skulls were missing entirely, extracted as if by someone who knew exactly what they were doing and why. There were no signs of a struggle, no blast damage, no shell casings, no footprints leading away from the site. A local villager was brought in to assist with translation and terrain navigation. Nervous from the start, he told U.S. forces he hadn't heard gunfire the night before. Instead, he said he'd seen lights moving through the jungle canopy. Not flares, not aircraft. Small points of light, darting and circling like angry fireflies, but moving with purpose. Then he described something worse. A shadow in the trees, tall, moving impossibly fast. The branches bending around it, not breaking, as if whatever passed through the canopy weighed almost nothing, or didn't fully exist in the same way we do. The villager gave his statement. He was thanked, released. 3 days later, he vanished. No witnesses, no body, no report filed beyond a single line noting his unavailability. By 1975, incidents like this had piled up enough that denial was no longer an option. The Pentagon quietly compiled a classified dossier under the codename Forest Hunter. 13 confirmed cases across Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. Every one followed the same pattern. Elite military units operating in remote jungle environments. Bodies skinned and suspended in trees. Specific organs removed: skulls, spinal columns, sometimes entire rib sections. Witnesses consistently reporting strange lights, overwhelming heat signatures, and distortions in the jungle canopy, as if the air itself was bending around something unseen. And here's the part that never made it into any official explanation. Every witness who gave detailed descriptions died or disappeared within a week. Not soldiers killed in combat, not casualties of war. Civilians, interpreters, villagers, even military personnel who talked too much during debriefings. One by one, they were silenced. Dr. Eleanor Franks, a forensic anthropologist consulting for DARPA, was brought in quietly to analyze photographic evidence from 3 forest hunter cases. She was given no physical remains, only images and surgical reports. Even with that limitation, her conclusion was immediate and disturbing. "These are not human kills," she wrote. "The pattern suggests trophy collection. This is organized hunting behavior. Whatever is responsible is selecting targets and preserving specimens." Her report was classified instantly. Decades later, it would surface briefly after a Freedom of Information request was mistakenly approved, an error that was corrected within hours, but not before a copy slipped out. 3 days after submitting her report, Dr. Franks was found dead in her home. Police ruled it a burglary gone wrong, but nothing was missing. No valuables, no forced entry. The only disturbance was in her study. Her files were gone. After that, everything went quiet. For nearly 10 years, Forrest Hunter vanished into the depths of Pentagon archives. No new investigations, no new task forces. Officially, the phenomenon no longer existed until 1982. In Guatemala, a CIA-backed Special Forces unit disappeared during an operation in the northern jungle province of Petén. The mission was classified, but it involved counterinsurgency in terrain almost identical to earlier Forest Hunter sites. 2 weeks later, a local farmer stumbled upon their remains. 8 men, skinned, hanging from ancient ceiba trees considered sacred in local folklore. Their weapons were still clutched in their hands, unfired, as if they never had time to react. The farmer told authorities he'd seen something the night before, a figure moving through the jungle that looked like glass, transparent, reflective, distorting the light around it. He said it didn't walk so much as glide, slipping between the trees without sound. His testimony was dismissed as superstition. 3 days later, the farmer and his entire family disappeared. The CIA officer assigned to investigate the incident was Thomas Schaefer. Unlike previous investigators, Schaefer documented everything obsessively. Near the site, he found tracks 3-toed impressions over 20 inches long, pressed deep into the soil. They appeared suddenly and ended just as abruptly, as if whatever made them had dropped from above or left the ground entirely. Schaefer noted something else in his report, something that unsettled him more than the bodies. The jungle was silent. No birds, no insects, no animal calls, nothing alive within a half-mile radius of the site. The forest itself seemed to be holding its breath. Schaefer requested permission to expand his investigation. Instead, he was recalled to Langley. No explanation, no follow-up, just silence. 3 months later, Schaefer took early retirement and moved to a remote cabin in Alaska. In 1984, he was found dead. Official ruling, suicide. His sister later found his journal. Hundreds of pages describing the hunter and increasingly frantic notes about being watched through his windows at night. Then came 1985, the turning point. A helicopter carrying a Dutch Special Forces team crashed in the jungles of Suriname near the Brazilian border. When search teams arrived 3 days later, they found something impossible to hide. 4 bodies skinned and hanging from trees, 3 soldiers missing entirely, The helicopter itself was intact. No mechanical failure. No signs of conventional weapons fire. The Dutch government demanded answers. Major Alan Schaefer, no relation to Thomas Schaefer, led the U.S. military investigation team, accompanied by CIA liaison George Dillon. Both men were experts in jungle warfare. Officially, their mission was to determine whether Soviet-backed insurgents were operating in the region. Unofficially, according to documents later found in Dillon's personal safe, their mission was to confirm or deny forest hunter activity. Neither man returned. The 7-man team sent after them disappeared as well. This was too big to contain. Too many lost personnel. Too many international eyes. The Pentagon needed a solution. And that's when Hollywood entered the picture. In September 1985, a young director named John McTiernan was approached by producer Joel Silver with a script titled Hunter. Silver claimed it came to him through unusual channels. The screenplay, credited to Jim and John Thomas, underwent extensive rewrites by uncredited military technical advisors. Filming locations in Mexico were secured through diplomatic channels that made no sense for a movie. Military hardware was supplied with minimal paperwork. According to anonymous production assistants, some scenes were storyboarded before McTiernan was even hired, especially the scenes of skinned bodies hanging from trees. Arnold Schwarzenegger later hinted at something strange in a 1998 interview with a German film magazine. He said there were military advisors everywhere, that they were obsessively specific about how the bodies should look, how they should hang. Too specific, he said. One night, after drinking, one advisor allegedly told him, "This isn't a movie, it's a warning." Schwarzenegger has never repeated that story. Predator was released in 1987, disguised as science fiction, but it contained details that matched classified forest hunter files exactly: thermal vision, movement through treetops, trophy collection, spine removal, and the most disturbing detail of all, the 3-dot targeting system. That detail did not exist in any public record before the film's release, yet it appears in Thomas Schaefer's journal and in a sketch found among Dr. Franks's files. So, ask yourself, was Predator just a movie, or was it the only way to tell the truth without admitting it? Before we go further, if you're still watching right now, take a second to subscribe, not because of algorithms, but because these are the kinds of stories that don't stay visible forever. And if you want to hear the rest of them, you'll want to be here. Because the incidents didn't stop. In 1989, a British SAS team disappeared during a counterinsurgency operation in Sierra Leone. Their bodies were found displayed exactly like in the film. The British government classified the incident until 2055. In 1991, during Operation Desert Storm, 3 U.S. Marine Force recon scouts vanished near the Kuwait-Iraq border. Their thermal imaging gear was found melted in a pattern identical to forest hunter damage reports. 2 days later, their bodies were discovered skinned and hanging from a water tower. The Marine who found them, Sergeant Carlos Ramirez, requested immediate transfer. In letters released after his suicide in 2004, he wrote, "It wasn't human. I saw it moving like heat waves bending the air, too tall, too fast. I fired at it. My bullets hit nothing. 3 red dots appeared on my chest, then moved away. It let me live. I don't know why. Somalia, Colombia, Afghanistan. The pattern repeated, hidden within the fog of war. Then something changed." By the early 2000s, the Predator franchise itself began evolving, almost like updates. The 2004 film Alien vs. Predator introduced the idea that these entities had visited Earth throughout human history. Around the same time, archaeological sites in Cambodia, Guatemala, and Egypt revealed carvings of tall, masked figures hunting humans. Carbon dating placed them all around 3000 BCE. Independent civilizations, same imagery, same period. Dr. William Myers published a paper suggesting a real contact event. His career ended immediately. He disappeared in Brazil in 2005. His camera was recovered. The last image showed 3 red dots on his tent wall. In 2008, NASA satellites detected an anomalous heat signature in the Congo Basin. A special forces team was deployed under the cover of anti-poaching operations. Communications were lost for 72 hours. When contact resumed, only one soldier was alive, Corporal Rebecca Wilkins. Her debriefing remains classified, but a leaked medical report described radiation burns and 3 circular scars on her forehead. She later said in a rare interview, "They don't hunt where it's cold. They see in heat." She moved to Alaska. In 2018, British petroleum engineers vanished in Venezuela. Their camp was untouched, food still warm. 2 kilometers away, their bodies were found skinned and displayed. Autopsy reports described a cutting tool capable of slicing bone without microfractures. The same language used in 1968. In 2022, SOCOM quietly formed a new unit. Official purpose: unconventional threats. Internal designation: Hunter Response Team. Recruitment focused on night operations, thermal countermeasures, and psychological resilience to impossible scenarios. Now it's 2025. 7 units gone in 18 months. Multiple hunter types reported. Coordinated movement, selective trophies. They're adapting, learning. And that brings us to the final question. Why tell you this? Because awareness changes the hunt. These entities don't target the weak. They hunt the capable, the prepared, the dangerous. They respect worthy adversaries. Dutch survived in the film because that's what survivors do in real life. Thermal masking, environmental traps, adaptation. So if you've watched this far, remember this. They hunt by heat. They choose remote places, and they watch how we react, which means they might be watching this right now. So I won't ask you to share. I won't ask you to comment. If you understand, stay quiet, blend in, and the next time you feel unexplained heat or see 3 red dots on your wall, you'll know. This was never just a movie, and it was never just fiction. Before this ends, one last thing. If this really was just a movie, if all of this was coincidence, fiction, paranoia stitched together by history, then nothing happens next. But if you notice the pattern, if certain details felt uncomfortably specific, if the silence between the stories bothered you more than the violence itself, then leave a single comment. Don't explain it. Don't debate it. Don't argue with anyone. Just type, "Still hunting." Not for the algorithm, not for engagement. It lets me know who understood without saying it out loud. And if this video disappears, if comments are locked, if something about this suddenly feels off, you'll already know why.